Well, welcome to the program. You know, there's a lot of controversy regarding the lack of diversity at the Oscars this past season, and with that in mind, Mattel has brought out a new Barbie doll. It's being issued in 3 new shapes along with 7 different skin tones. Although things haven't changed that much, as those skin tones are pasty, pale, fair, alabaster white, and tan with a sunburned red glow. From the strange world of politics, former U.S. Senate Minority Leader Bob Dole announced he's endorsing U.S. Senator Marco Rubio for president. Dole lost his race against Bill Clinton, but then he made history by starring in his first commercial for Viagra. He was hoping they'd help him achieve an election. Hillary Clinton recently visited the set of the hit ABC show Scandal. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton visited the set of The Big Bang Theory. In more political news, a picture has emerged from the 60s of Bernie Sanders getting arrested during a protest. The big question is, when they say it's from the 60s, do they mean it's from the 1960s or the 1860s? Although she herself is an immigrant, Donald Trump's wife, Melania, says she is fine with her husband's tough anti-immigration stance. It's a dilemma for her. If Trump wins, she might get kicked out of the country, and then she might get kicked out of the White House when she turns 40 anyway. In high-tech news, Apple's CEO is resisting a federal court order requested by the FBI to break into iPhones of the San Bernardino shooters. It begs an obvious question. Why is it that the FBI can't get a simple text message out of an iPhone when hackers can access every nude celebrity selfie photo in existence? A report says that interest in smartphones is flattening, with sales starting to fail and fall. Apparently, there's a new fad that people are trying instead, called personal face-to-face conversations. Seriously, the idea of disconnecting from the machine is gaining traction out there. And tonight we meet Dr. Luis Almeida. He's a professor of communications. He was at Penn State, at Jackson State University now. He has lectured around the country on this topic, including a number of TED conferences. We're born, we live for a brief instant, and we die. It's been happening for a long time. Technology is not changing it much, if at all. Steve Jobs said that. Technology has some wonderful benefits. However, that being said, it is becoming increasingly obvious that our world is developing an unhealthy attachment to it. Right now, 84% of cell phone users claim they could not go a single day without their device. 67% of cell phone owners check their phone for messages, alerts, or calls, even when they don't notice their phone is ringing or vibrating. Studies indicate that some mobile device owners check their devices every 6.5 minutes. 88% of U.S. consumers use mobile devices as a second screen, even while watching TV. Almost half of cell owners have slept with their phone next to the bed because they wanted to make sure they didn't miss any calls. Traditional TV viewing eats up 6 days. That's 144 hours worth of time per month. Some researchers have begun labeling cell phone checking as the new yawn because it's contagious in nature. But we don't need statistics to tell us we're over-attached to our technology. We already know that's true. So tonight we'll talk to Dr. Luis Almeida about disconnecting from the machine. We'll be back after the break with Dr. Almeida. Stay tuned.
We'll be right back with more of Nightique after these messages.
This is our Graze box. It's a great way to snack. Fresh, tasty, and created using only the best ingredients. Choose from our range of over 90 delicious snacks. We'd like to invite you to try a hand-picked box for free. Go to graze.com and we'll send a free box directly to your office or home. It may even help you keep your hand out of the cookie jar.
Go to graze.com and enter the code GRAZE34 for a free box.
Graze.com. Snacking reinvented.
Credit card debt is a very real problem that faces most American households. USA Debt Consultants offers services to relieve you of your debt problems. Our partners work with creditors to help you lower your monthly payments, stop harassing phone calls, and avoid bankruptcy. Give us a call today to learn how to take control of your debt and financial future. Get your life back. Let us help.
Call USA Debt Consultants at 800-769-6406 for a free no-obligation consultation.
Ingalls Shipbuilding has pioneered the development and production of technologically advanced, highly capable warships for the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps for more than 75 years. Ingalls is Mississippi's largest manufacturing employer, and today Ingalls has an immediate need for more than 200 electricians at our Pascagoula, Mississippi site. Apply today at www.buildyourcareer.com or call 888-935-1507.
And now back to more Nightique.
Well, we'd like to welcome Dr. Louis Almeida. Thanks for coming, Doc, and we
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time to come on Nightique tonight and talk about unplugging from technology.
I'm glad to be here.
Now, we are so connected. I mean, I could, just speaking for myself, through the years of being in television, satellite uplinking, and all the different technology that we've dealt with, you become enamored with an artificial world, and it's so pervasive today with cell phones and all of the different devices that we've got. Are we too connected to those technologies right now as a human race?
There is no question about that, Ed. The way of how we are consuming technology is so ingrained in us in this new generation that to a degree, I think we're actually starting to lose a little bit of our humanity. We're not really communicating as much in the way that maybe we should. Yet, through years of evolution of the human species, what's happening is that it almost feels that we're becoming a new species on how we are interacting with technology and putting to the side some of the behaviors, the known behaviors that we have acquired through the years. So yeah, absolutely.
And the young people are so trained in it from such a young age. They're so able to manipulate the technology in a very easy way. They live with it, right? So it's even more impactful for those young folks because they know nothing different, right?
That is exactly right. Now, one of the interesting points of that is that just because the kids, the new generation, they're using the computer, the computers and the technological devices that we have available today, doesn't mean that they are necessarily the most technological. Now let me explain this because there's a lot of confusion into this. Just because let's say a college student, right, the University of Miami, can actually go to a computer and log into Facebook doesn't mean that that student actually knows a lot about technology. And often the question that I like to ask and in my research is that, well, you're technological. Okay, I understand you grew up with going to social media and all these things is all wonderful. Can you produce an Excel spreadsheet? How do you program like this new system? Can you program in C++? And very quickly, what ended up happening is that we find out that computer technology, to a high degree, is a consuming thing rather than a creating thing. And we're seeing a little bit of that already in society.
I see. Now, we're going to talk about some of the important reasons why it's very important that everybody find time to unplug. We're going to talk about some of the reasons tonight on the program. Powering down helps remove unhealthy feelings of jealousy, envy, and loneliness. So researchers have discovered that 1 in 3 people feel worse after visiting Facebook than before they got on. They see many things happening with other people and they might feel lonely or they might feel jealous or envious of different things that they're seeing there. That's something that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, if we do a little bit of a science of observation, what you're going to find out is that folks often go to social media not when they're happy. So folks tend to go to social media when they don't have anything to do.
Maybe lonely.
Yeah, exactly. So think about it. When you actually go to the grocery store, right? And let's say you have like a longer line, the first thing that folks tend to do is to go to the cell phone and check Facebook because they don't have anything else to do, right? But they didn't choose to go to, in this case, in this example, they did not choose to go to the supermarket to check Facebook. They went to the supermarket to buy their groceries, and then they happen to use Facebook when they're bored. It's intriguing how those things actually tend to develop.
I have so many friends on Facebook who I do not know. I've gotten Facebook requests, and you know, I mean, I don't know if this is something that everybody experiences or not, but I've got friends that I don't know on Facebook, you know, many.
Well, maybe we should redefine the meaning of friendship, right? I mean, what do you mean by being a friend? This is interesting you said that. Yeah.
And you know, another thing, if you like something, if somebody has experienced a terrible thing and they're sharing it on Facebook and people are pushing the like button, it's kind of hard to understand what they mean. Do they like the fact that you just experienced a tragedy? Or are they liking the fact that you're sharing your moment of grief? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what I mean.
Now, okay, here's another point. Powering down combats the fear of missing out. Scientifically speaking, the fear of missing out, FOMO, has been recognized as a recently emerging psychological disorder brought on by the advance of technology. The premise is simple. Our social media streams are ever filled with everything happening around us, and we're not necessarily experiencing all these wonderful things, so we feel left out.
Well, exactly. And you know, Ed, one of the things that I think we need to be careful is to not, we have to look at the question of technology, not to say that technology is necessarily bad, what is like the demise of the human race. I think it's going to happen a little bit of that, but there are positives of technology. But what I think we need to be careful with is to look at technique, right, the technology, in things that, in ways that that's just not why technology was actually introduced to be used. And the question that you just raised, and the interesting point of that, is that we have to be very careful to not forget that we are human beings, that we have had years of evolutionary progress in how we communicate face to face. We cannot just like erase that. And with technology, unfortunately, those things are actually happening. We're celebrating. But see, how you celebrate this? I mean, we're celebrating like the advancements of maybe having a robot to do something that we can't do, right? But whenever the robot becomes us, and then there is a problem, right?
Now, you were speaking of a robot. Okay, now we've got a small robot on the desk here, but this is an interesting robot. This is a solar-powered robot. So this robot is getting its energy source from the sun, and so basically this robot is a complete individual. He doesn't need a wire connected to him. His owner doesn't need to plug him in. If he was able to figure out when he needed to recharge, he could go out in the sun, recharge, and keep going, couldn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's an interesting concept.
Very interesting. And the side effects of this type of technology they can actually have in this country and abroad is that, well, look at the city of Detroit in Michigan. So all this automation that we celebrated for years, right, to be able to produce to use the Ford model and put technology to actually mass produce cars, now the technology is actually out. What happened to Detroit? And not only what happened to the city of Detroit, but what happens to the infrastructure of Detroit. I mean, so we have to be thinking about these things systemically rather than systematically.
Well, here's an example of something that could disrupt everything: a solar flare, a solar pulse. This type of a radiological event could knock out the grid, let's say, and all of electricity and the computers. What then?
Do you remember the Hurricane Katrina?
Yeah, I remember it very well because I'm from New Orleans, and I remember that it was as if we've shifted back to the medieval time.
Exactly. See, but this is what I've been saying for years, Ed. We should celebrate systemic processes, and sometimes those systemic processes are actually older processes. So CB radios were how we communicate under the Katrina disaster, right? It wasn't because of technology. The lines were totally clogged because the disaster of Katrina did not allow us to actually use the new techniques.
Something that we're losing also, solitude. Solitude is harder to find in an always connected world. Solitude grounds us to the world around us. It provides stillness and quiet required to evaluate our lives and reflect on the message in our hearts. And when we're connected electronically, and we've got this data coming at us nonstop from all directions, it's hard to find a meditative position and just chill out, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. As a matter of fact, since you mentioned that, I gave an interview to the Brazilian newspaper O Globo, which is one of the biggest newspapers in South America. Certainly, if not the biggest, one of the biggest in Brazil. And I have it here on my notes. Here it is, and I can translate to you if you like.
Yes.
The human beings were not made to stay on a computer all the time, says researcher. And in this interview, which was about like a full page on a newspaper, we talk exactly on that, on the importance of actually having to relax, to be able to get out and feel a little, being a little more human, which is part of what we're supposed to do, right? We sleep for 8 hours for a reason. We're not made to sleep for 3 hours and wake up in the middle of the evening and think about some of the things that we did not solve the day before, right?
Right. Okay, we're going to continue the conversation. We're going to take a break, and we're going to unplug for a minute, and we're going to come back with Dr. Almeida. Stay tuned.
We'll be right back with more of Nightique after these messages.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
This is our Graze Box. It's a great way to snack. Fresh, tasty, and created using only the best ingredients. Choose from our range of over 90 delicious snacks. We'd like to invite you to try a hand-picked box for free. Go to graze.com and we'll send a free box directly to your office or home. It may even help you keep your hand out of the cookie jar.
Go to graze.com and enter the code GRAZE34 for a free box.
Graze.com. Snacking. Reinvented.
This is important news for people who have suffered serious infections after hip or knee replacement surgeries or open heart surgery. Your infection may be the result of a device used in the operating room. If you suffered an infection that led to hospitalization or surgery after your hip or knee replacement or after open heart surgery, call the law offices of Davis & Crump at the number below right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now.
When you are looking to further your education, there's only one university that towers above the rest, Jackson State University. Jackson State University is one of the leading universities in research, technology, and innovation, graduating more than 1,300 students annually and a consistent growth in revenue. Jackson State University is ranked #1 amongst the HBCUs in research and development. Make the right choice, the one choice, one Jackson State University, changing lives one student at a time.
And now back to more Nightique.
We're talking to Dr. Luis Almeida. He has been a professor at Penn State. Now he is a professor here at Jackson State University. And we're talking about the need to unplug from technology, which we're finding it harder and harder to do. We're making some various points. Now, life at its best is happening right in front of you. And that's the real world, the unfiltered, authentic world. But if we're too busy staring down at our screen, we miss everything. You agree with that?
Sure, of course I do. And one of the things that makes us human is the ability for us to remember some of our experiences in life. My wife and I, in fact, were talking about some of those topics. When we went to a vacation, said, well, man, if we can actually, we don't have to necessarily go to New Orleans, where you come from, right? To be able to experience New Orleans from the visual side. You can go to YouTube and go places online and actually check it out. But I'll bet you that once you go to New Orleans, you can actually smell, right? There is the sense of smell, like some of the things that we feel just by going to a place. When we went to New Orleans a few years back, I actually enjoyed going to the aquarium. I mean, things like these that it's difficult to not enjoy when you actually go in person. So we do lose a lot when we actually don't live life as we understand.
The natural world around us. Powering down promotes creation over consumption. So when we're involved with media online and we've got the barrage of information, we're basically consumers, and we don't have time to create. So that's not a good thing. We get out of balance as a society, would you say?
Well, exactly. Now, again, you go back again to the systemic thinking of this, Ed, because if we don't have the brains who are able to produce the businesses, and I have said this for years in higher education, just because we educate folks, educate the students to be able to go out and actually work in a company, the business of information sometimes doesn't produce anything, right? So it may produce, well, I shouldn't say that, let me go back again. Maybe produce some, it helps us to make some better decisions by being better informed, but if we're not producing a tangible product, right, or being able to actually produce, let's say, like a, I don't know.
A drone.
This drone. Yeah. You know,
That's a good choice.
You know,
a drone.
Yeah. I mean, the positive and negatives of the drone. Let's make sure that we're on the same page here. But what I'm trying to say is that being able to actually produce a product is important. And in our society in the United States, and I can say about, that is the same thing in Brazil where I come from, that we're missing that. I think that the new generation is too focused on being able to actually consume.
Consume, right. You don't have time to think about new creative projects or whatever it might be because you're so busy looking at somebody else's output of product, whatever that might be, as a consumer.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? But those are some of the things that we need to talk more in an open forum about. That is that it's not that it's bad to be on a computer, that we should not be going to social media. Those things are actually, there is a place for that.
Moderation.
Yeah, exactly. Because but the problem becomes when we actually make our lives, and then we're missing the opportunity to actually go and enjoy the city of Houston, right? Or go to Atlanta and go into the zoo in Atlanta and actually have a good time with your family, or raise a kid, maybe going to Brazil and actually have an opportunity to go to Christ the Redeemer. I mean, those experiences there, you really can't do this in the same level when you're looking at the computer screen.
Right. Addiction can only be understood when the object is taken away. We'll talk about that when we come back, okay? Another break, we'll be right back.
Oh yeah, we can talk about addiction all the time.
We'll be right back with more of Nightique after these messages.
This is our Graze Box. It's a great way to snack. Fresh, tasty, and created using only the best ingredients. Choose from our range of over 90 delicious snacks. We'd like to invite you to try a hand-picked box for free. Go to graze.com and we'll send a free box directly to your office or home. It may even help you keep your hand out of the cookie jar.
Go to graze.com and enter the code GRAZE34 for a free box.
Graze.com. Snacking reinvented.
When you are looking to further your education, there's only one university that towers above the rest, Jackson State University. Jackson State University is one of the leading universities in research, technology, and innovation, graduating more than 1,300 students annually and a consistent growth in revenue. Jackson State University is ranked #1 amongst the HBCUs in research and development. Make the right choice, the one choice. One Jackson State University, changing lives, one student at a time.
Credit card debt is a very real problem that faces most American households. USA Debt Consultants offers services to relieve you of your debt problems. Our partners work with creditors to help you lower your monthly payments, stop harassing phone calls, and avoid bankruptcy. Give us a call today to learn how to take control of your debt and financial future. Get your life back. Let us help.
Call USA Debt Consultants at 800-769-6406 for a free no-obligation consultation.
Ingalls Shipbuilding has pioneered the development and production of technologically advanced, highly capable warships for the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps for more than 75 years. Ingalls is Mississippi's largest manufacturing employer, and today Ingalls has an immediate need for more than 200 electricians at our Pascagoula, Mississippi site. Apply today at www.buildyourcareer.com or call 888-935-1507.
And now back to more Nightique.
We're talking to Dr. Luis Almeida from Penn State and Jackson State University, a communications professor. We're talking about the need to unplug from our world that we're so plugged into, technically speaking. Are we addicted? That's a question. Addiction can only be understood when the object is taken away. So, I think when you unplug completely, that's when you realize how addicted you were to the addictive element, correct?
Well, I'm going to agree and disagree with you.
Okay.
We are addicted. I think there is an element of addiction to this. And in fact, one of my acquaintances in church, his name is Gila Marsh, is a physician here in Mississippi. We're talking about that. over the weekend, over lunch. It's interesting that you asked that question. But his area of research deals more with stress and how things actually operate and how that's going to have an impact on allergies. But we talked a little bit about this. I think we're actually beyond the question of addiction. I think we're becoming conditioned to actually use the computer, which is actually one step beyond addiction. Sure, I think that the elements of addiction are there, but I think we're maybe one step ahead of this. We're being conditioned to actually use the machine.
Yeah, it's even worse.
Yes.
Okay, life is still about flesh, blood, and eye contact, which we're losing because we can send messages without that contact, via text or whatever. Another thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but that is definitely happening.
Yeah.
There is no question.
So those are 7 elements as to why it's not good to be too plugged in. Now, what can one do? Now, a couple of recommendations that have come down, or power down for one period of time each day where you're completely unplugged. Another recommendation would be to take extended breaks from technology. This particular person that we're referring to that did research said that for 40 days out of every year, he unplugs completely for a period of time, or maybe a day or two, whatever. You want to weigh in on that?
Sure. Maybe we can actually get another way to unplug.
So this is a fortune cookie.
Yes, it is.
And in that fortune cookie, I would imagine there's some advice.
Sure.
What is it?
It's precisely. And one of the ways that you can actually unplug, Ed, is to, let's see, read a book or 2 or 3. So sometimes just going to the original medium of paper is a way to actually get out from the computer, reading a book.
Doctor, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Dr. Luis Almeida from Jackson State University and formerly Penn State, weighing in on the need to unplug. That's this edition of Nightique. We'll see you next time.